everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Unprofessionals Asking Questions. I'm Sid.
And I'm Julia.
And welcome to our rainy day episode.
Yeah.
Sorry we missed a week or two.
Just one.
Was it just one?
Yeah.
That was my fault. I got a little sick. So
we haven't seen each other actually in a while, though, because we double recorded.
So
because I was away.
Well, it's been since Leap Day. So.
Yeah. Holy shabonkers.
Wait, has it been... When was Leap Day? I forget. Oh, the
29th.
29th?
Of February.
Oh my god.
That's actually...
You had to cut that out. That was so bad. I forgot literally what Leap Day...
Yeah, it's been a while.
When that was our last episode.
Like 3 weeks. Anyways, I'm anxious to know. You won't tell me.
Yes. So
what is it today?
I figured in honor of Women's History Month.
Oh.
Because remember, and that, by the way, that was our very first episode. So we're probably a year in now.
We are. Actually, a memory just came up. I think today or tomorrow is the year anniversary. Oh my gosh, maybe we should. That's why I got the lattes and the banana bread.
Yeah.
That was my celebration because you guys didn't remember.
So, yeah, we've been doing this a year. It's been great. It's been fun.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe it's been that long. But also, it feels like we've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
At the same time.
True. So thank you if you're a listener.
Yeah. If you've been a listener the entire time, thanks.
Thank you.
So yeah, I figured since we're still in Women's History Month that we would do a bit of a Women's Day history episode, kind of. I just want to share the story of a really badass chick.
Word.
Basically. So the title of this episode is How Did Juliane Koepcke Survive a Plane Crash?
Julia Coker?
Juliane Koepcke. That's her name.
Is this the one you talked about before that you wanted to do?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited now.
Yeah.
As I'm putting my chapstick on.
I use the same thing.
It does the job.
It does.
I don't know why I had to check the label. I know what it is, but Climax sponsor us.
So yeah, this is a plane crash survivor episode.
Woo!
Dun, dun, dun.
Love.
Yeah.
So where... Oh, I'm sure you're going to get into it.
I'll get into it. But like, first, are you afraid of flying at all?
No, but... Yeah, my sister's... Well, not so much anymore. My mom's pretty good. My older sister and my mom, always a little iffy. They don't like heights.
I've never had a issue with...
I love flying.
Had an issue with flying.
You just get there so much quicker.
The older I get, though, the more things I worry about.
Well, the more things I see on social media where it's like a window or a panel pops off. I'm like, wait, what? This happened?
Yeah. So things like that, I'm like, ugh. Which just goes to show, don't watch the news. Don't get on social media. It's not good for you.
Yeah.
Just stay in your own little bubble. Speaking of, I read this, is completely off topic, but I read this quick article this morning. I didn't get super into it because I think I was just like on the toilet and I was scrolling and I read it. And I didn't go super deep into it. But they just arrested some guy in California who someone ended up getting hit by a train and died, but they were also dismembered when they got hit. But there was this random ass guy who came up.
Pause.
Yeah.
They were dead and dismembered and then got ran over, or they were dismembered by the train?
Mm-hmm. The train dismembered a person.
Okay.
Some other random guy comes over to the scene, takes the severed leg, and there's a video, I didn't watch it.
Why?
Picks it up, sniffs it a little bit, and starts to eat it.
Raw!
Well, yeah. That's where you go first. Like, they're eating the leg raw. They didn't even cook it first. Are you kidding me?
No, I mean, yes. Ew, raw? Like, if you're gonna eat human leg, like, that's weird. That's so weird.
At least roast it.
At least roast it, exactly.
Put some rosemary and thyme in there.
You can't not agree with
salt
me.
and pepper.
Right? Is that what's good with human? Like, okay, you took it too far with rosemary. Adding rosemary. Is that how you like to?
Well, I like rosemary in my roast beef in the crock pot, so I figured it probably goes with any kind of meat.
No. This is wild.
And again,
to me.
I didn't look into it. I don't know if like he was on drugs. I don't know if he was homeless and just that hungry.
Was he okay?
I don't know. I did not go into it. I'll probably look it back up later, but go look it up. I thought that was crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I can't. Like, anything, like, raw like that. Like, how do you even chew?
I love the fact that you're just stuck on the fact it's raw and it's not a human leg. That's not what's getting you, is the fact that it's someone who literally just died.
Yeah, that's
by
wild.
a train.
That is crazy, but
he immediately comes onto the scene and takes the leg.
Crazy, yes.
And you're like, but he didn't cook it. That's where he went wrong.
Yes. Like, if you're gonna do that, what are you doing? That's gonna make you sick.
Yep.
I don't know why, but that's where my head went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anyway, yeah, so, which is actually weird because before I ended up deciding to do this episode, I was going to look into an episode on cannibalism.
Oh, you should do that.
Which I still, at some point, will probably do that, but it's like, that's weird. Because it would have been funny if I would have actually stuck to that.
I always think of Wrong Turn.
I hated all of those movies.
You hated all of them?
I mean, like, those kinds of movies, like Wrong Turn, The Hills Have Eyes, like, those freak me out.
Yeah, that's why I love them.
Like, I love scary movies, but I like there to be some kind of more of a fantasy side to it, because when it's real like that, I'm like, no.
Mm-hmm. No, that I like getting like that. I don't know. The fantasy, I'm just like, haha. Like, I kind of laugh at that.
I think it's because I like to disassociate a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's easier that way, whereas when you're watching something that could actually happen, I just get really stressed. I mean, it doesn't stop me from watching it. But, like, I'd prefer something that has, like, a supernatural or paranormal aspect to it.
I want to rewatch Wrong Turn now. Like, all of them.
Aren't there, like, 4?
Yeah.
Or 5?
No, there's, like, 7, I thought.
Oh.
Maybe 6. Let's see. Not that this is... There was 6, but then they made one in 2021. Okay. Anyways, sorry.
How are there so many? I definitely never watched them all.
Really?
I maybe saw some of one.
That might have been
remember.
your problem.
Maybe.
No, if you didn't like the one, you probably wouldn't like the others. That's wild. You didn't watch all of them.
Yeah. I don't know. That just wasn't... I don't know. Like, I like more of the... Yeah. I don't know.
I would have to rewatch them. They might be trash now, but I really did like them.
Well, why don't we pick to watch one?
Probably a little problematic, people would say now. But what isn't?
Most things don't age well, so it doesn't matter.
Honestly, that laugh that he does in them. Okay, anyways, we're moving on. You gotta keep me on track today.
So yeah, back to the episode. Again, this is a plane crash survivor, and she's a badass chick, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of her story. I got pretty much all of my notes from a book that she wrote, and I had to cut it way down.
You read the whole book?
Yeah, mostly. Like,
cool.
I kind of skimmed through some things just for time, but I had to already cut so much out of it, so I definitely recommend go and reading it. It's called When I Fell from the Sky, which is like a chilling, like, title.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about literally falling from the sky and surviving that. It's insane.
I want to skydive so bad.
At least you would have a parachute.
Oh, yeah. She didn't have a parachute?
She did not have a parachute.
I kind of assumed that.
Okay, so Juliane Koepcke, also known as Juliane Diller, which is her married name now, is a German Peruvian mammologist who specializes in bats, which is so fucking cool.
Bats again.
I love bats. Bats.
Bats come up a lot.
I love them. Do they? When did we talk about bats recently?
Not recently, but I feel like 5 or so of our episodes we've talked.
Could be. I love bats. Like, goal is to have a bat sanctuary.
Bait?
I don't know what happened there.
Bait.
I don't know what happened. A bat sanctuary. That would be so freaking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love the flying fox bats. Like, those look like little puppies. They're so cute. I just want to cuddle them.
What other ones do you like?
I don't know all the names. I just love bats. I think they're adorable.
The name is Batty.
I still have yet to watch that. Sorry.
Yeah, they're alright.
Okay.
I guess they're cute. I don't know. I'd come visit your sanctuary.
Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome. This one's scary.
That's cool.
Yeah, wow. Okay,
Anyway, so yeah, she specializes in bats. And how I like to say, she's otherwise known. Oh, I think that's beautiful.
Yeah,
like,
I guess
look
it
at
is
the wings
fascinating.
and
The wing.
it's so amazing.
I'll have the
And
photos.
they can be huge. Plus, like, I've always loved like the whole vampire lore, and I love like bats. I just love bats. I don't know. They're just something. Well, when you watched, what is it? What They Do in the Shadows.
I've only seen a
mockumentary.
couple. The documentary?
Mockumentary.
Oh, mockumentary. I've only seen a couple episodes, and I forget, where is it?
It's on Hulu.
Wait, I think I might have watched all of it. I don't know. If not, I'm going to watch
such
it
a good
today.
show.
If I have time.
Mockumentary about vampires, and it's so funny. And
yeah,
the one guy,
I've seen a few.
also, like, they can turn into bats. And the one guy, though, every time he transforms into a bat, like, beforehand he yells bat, and he transforms. And it's so funny because I love saying bat.
And then you never
And he's like,
transform.
no. Well, you don't know. Maybe I do.
I always try the snap thing when I don't want to drive anywhere.
Ugh. Sometimes I still am like, is it going to work this time?
Yeah,
No,
literally.
it doesn't. Never does.
Maybe one day.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the dream. So I think that's super duper cool. That's what she does. But you're going to see that the way this worked out with her survival, it was almost like she was meant to be here, put on this earth to do amazing things. It's really cool how it worked out. But anyway, before she became a bat specialist, she was famous for being known as a survivor of a horrific plane crash and surviving alone after the plane crash in the Peruvian Amazon rainforest at only 17 years old.
That's so young. Wait, what year was this?
So this happened in 1971.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. So a little bit about her early life before the crash. She was born on October 10th, 1954.
Ooh, a Libra.
Yep, a Libra. Her name is known as the Cheerful One, which is sweet. She was born to German zoologist parents, Maria Koepcke and Hans Wilhelm Koepcke. Her mother was a ornithologist, so studies birds.
I just want to see how the last name spelled.
Koepcke. Mm-hmm. He was also an author of an important comprehensive work on the life forms of the animal and plant world. So they were really established
It makes sense that she was in the Peruvian rainforest at 17.
Yeah. So she spent pretty much all of her time with her parents, and they were, of course, really established scientists. They were doing tons of research, being in the forest.
So cool.
So she grew up basically in the forest with them. She spoke both Spanish and German as she was growing up. she was constantly surrounded by animals. Her and her family actually discovered several new bird and plant species, which I mean is bound to happen when you're in like a remote rainforest that hasn't been touched by anybody yet. You're going to probably find new things, which is really cool. And to be able to be the ones to name them, and
Yeah.
that's really cool.
I don't understand half the names. Like their scientific names.
Right, like the Latin names.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she grew up speaking both Spanish and German, constantly surrounded by animals, discovering new bird and plant species. And her mother being an ornithologist, so, you know, studying birds, she would constantly be bringing home, like, injured or shot birds that she would find, and she would nurse them back to health.
Aww.
So she was constantly seeing her mom do that. They had all sorts of pets growing up. And I included one of these because I thought it was so cute. They had a parrot named Bio.
Bio?
Like biology.
Okay.
Bio. He was super duper smart. He was even potty trained to use the toilet.
What was he?
A parrot.
No.
A parrot! Using the toilet.
How did it push it down?
I'm sure he didn't flush it himself.
Okay.
Or maybe it was like a pull string.
I guess that's still
I don't
cool,
know.
though.
It's really cool.
Yeah. I
To
don't
train
wanna
any
deal
animal
with
to.
bird pit. Yeah.
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 That's really cool.
I wish my cats would use the toilet.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Nothing's worse.
Yeah.
It's really not that bad, but
I do recommend the litter robot, though.
you do. Mm-hmm. You told me you'd let me know.
Yeah. I'm letting you know.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's pretty cool. Pretty worth it.
A word. Good to know.
So anyway, super smart parrot. They loved him. One day, he ended up having a heart attack. And her mother ended up reviving him. So he was okay. But she was able to revive him with an Italian Cinzano, which is like a vermouth, I guess. An Italian vermouth. And I don't know, something in it like helped, like the smell or the taste or something, like
I was
revived
gonna
him.
ask how she.
I don't know. But because
What
of that,
the heck?
anytime after that happened, when they had guests over, you know, they would get the wine out or martinis or whatever, drinks, he would come over and insist on having a sip of that every single time.
He wanted that vermouth that saved his life. Oh my goodness.
I just thought that was I always thought parrots were so cool. And they have such a personality, and the fact you could talk to them is crazy.
Have you watched Only Murders in the Building?
I watched the first season. I don't think I caught up on anything else. Does a parrot come into play?
Yeah.
Cool.
Or a bird. Maybe it's not a parrot. I think it's a parrot.
A parrot's a bird.
I know, but like it might be. It's a talking bird.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Sorry, my
fine.
coaching. But yeah, anyways. I think it'd be cool, but also my great-grandmother had birds at one point when we were really young. Tiny birds, not a parrot. Mm-hmm. They were so annoying and kind of stinky.
Like to have did she have like parakeets or something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Are they part of the parrot family? Why are they called that?
Not an ornithologist.
Chubby.
No, I don't know. I always thought, like, if I ever would get a bird, I'd want a parrot.
Yeah. What about an emu or an ostrich?
Gosh. Emu. I wonder if did that movie come out yet?
I don't think so. Was it supposed to?
I don't know.
This year?
I don't know. Well, we saw the trailer. But we're getting way off topic. I just wanted to share one of the pets. I mean, she had many pets. She had other birds, like dogs,
Yeah, that's
whatever
what we
else.
were talking about.
So she had a lot of pets. I mean, they were always outside. So whenever, you know, her mom would be nursing some back to health, I'm sure some just stuck around and things like that. They took, yeah.
Did you ever watch the Swiss Family Robinson?
Uh-uh.
Old Disney movie.
I don't think that even sounds familiar.
A family gets like stranded in the middle of like an island, very remote. Like they're like British or they're Swiss. They're Swiss.
Guess that's in the name.
Yeah. Anyways, but they like build this whole house.
What? Where did kingdom come from?
It's like a big tree house though. It's really freaking
that's cool.
cool. Long story short, They have a bunch of they have like an emu, they have an elephant, they have like a horse that they got from the ship, and then they have some pigs that came from the ship. So it's just like a bunch of different random. Yeah, huh. That's what I'm picturing.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Or like Tarzan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I want to live that life.
I want to live that life. I want to go live on an island. Away from everybody. Just animals. And food.
Do you have Disney Plus?
Well, I don't have it.
I was going to say, you can
Someone
use mine.
else has it, that I use it.
Watch Swiss Family Robinson.
What's it called?
Swiss Family Robinson. Again, some problematic things they say, but...
Are they racist?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But, like, not... Yeah, there's some problems.
Or, like, just stereotypical.
When I say old, I mean, I think it came out in, like, the 60s or something. I mean, it shows history and the evolution, you know, of how that would come out now. It wouldn't be.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of it. How old is it?
Came out in the 60s, 1960.
Wow.
Yeah, my gram used to have it on, like, a VCR player. Like, one tape. So I watched it.
82% on Rotten Tomatoes.
A lot. If you've ever watched it, let us know. But yeah, they have a bunch of random pets.
Yeah, I would kind of picture this family kind of the same way.
Oh, they remade one in don't do the...
No remake.
No, do the original.
Okay. Will do.
Okay.
So her family was constantly taking excursions to different parts of the rainforest for their research. And a quick funny story. One time on an excursion into the rainforest, they met up with a cattle rancher who they would occasionally meet up with, and he would lend her parents a hand with things. But Juliane would hang out with the rancher's son, and they would go out and they would explore. They were super nosy, curious kids. They were young, so they would go out and do whatever. One time, he wanted to show her how to milk his cow, which turned out not to really be a cow. It was a really young, angry bull.
What the heck?
So they were young. They didn't really know how to tell a difference between male and female animals at their age.
So how is he going to teach her how to milk? It's not that easy. You have to have a technique.
Well, not just that, but, like, it wasn't a cow.
Yeah, it was...
a bull.
Yeah.
So he went and pulled really hard on what he thought was an udder that wasn't an udder.
Oh, my God. That's gross.
And Juliane ended up getting kicked in the head and, like, sent flying. She was fine. But, like, I just thought that was so funny. And, like, so you'll see, like, a lot of the things that she learned while she was with her parents really helped her survival later after the plane crash.
How old were they?
But really young. I forget how old.
Okay. I was like, this is just not okay.
I know. But, like... so basically rule number 1 for surviving, don't go around and pull on
a bull
penis.
Yeah. She got kicked in the head. I bet that hurt.
I'm sure.
Yikes. Yoinks.
But, like, he was like, yeah, I'll come show you how to milk my cow. And they go up and it's like...
It's such a kid thing to do. Let me show you how to milk my cow that I've seen, like, my mom and dad do all the time. And you grab the bull's penis.
I just thought it was so funny. So yeah, just little things like that. She, again, spent all of her time with them, so she learned everything that they would teach her about being out in the wilderness. But by 1968, her parents' dream was to go and establish a biological research station.
Cool.
In the middle of the Peruvian rainforest. So they left... I don't even think I mentioned where she was born. She was born in Lima. I did put a little map in my pictures if you wanted to see where it is.
Where
it's in
Lima?
Peru. So Lima is the capital of Peru. So I kind of circled, like, where it was that she grew up. And so by 1968, that's when they were like, we want to go set up this research station in the middle of the rainforest. So they left Lima. And they took their daughter Juliane with them, and she was 14 at this point. They went to, and I also added a little map of where they went to do the research station, and it was in a really remote part of like uninhabited rainforest. Nobody, I don't even think, had been there really before. And they got to name it themselves. So they named it Panguana.
Cool.
So I don't know if you have the map pulled up.
Yeah,
there.
I do.
So it's, that one there. So you could see where they were
Where
from, was Lima,
yeah.
and they went there, which took like several days to get there.
I was going to say that's
weeks probably.
Actually looks far, yeah.
I mean, I think they would fly into the city above there, which is called Pucallpa. Or Pucallpa, I think. And they would fly in there, and then from there, like, drive, take boat. Like, it took several days after they flew to actually get to where they wanted to be in the middle of the rainforest.
And yeah, because it would take so long because like there's not that many paths. I assume like you have to trek.
Yeah, and she was 14, and she was like not super thrilled about going at this point because she was in school. She had a lot of friends. Like she didn't want to just leave and go move to the middle of the rainforest and not be around anybody.
Instances like this just make me think about like all of the international schools that are like posted up in these places where like it's probably kind of cool. Like you just get kids from like all over where their parents are studying. Like I don't know. I feel like it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of get. I mean, when you're at that age, and because I mean, she grew up in Lima, and that's where she went to school the whole time. She had like it was the capital, so it was like a city. But they still, took these excursions. They were still out in the forest a lot from home. But now she was actually being moved entirely, not going to school anymore, not being around friends.
Oh,
to the middle of the rainforest.
And so they're like permanently living here. This is.
I mean, they want to. I don't know if they had a timeline of how long it takes to like set up a research station, but she did end up living there for about 2 years.
Wow.
After they moved, but
that would be hard.
it would be.
You said she's at 14?
Yeah, 14.
Yeah.
But once she like got there and they were living their life, she ended up falling in love with it. It was a huge adventure for her, and it really grew on her. So since she was taken out of school, her parents mostly like taught her what they could teach her. Like I think her dad, they were scientists, they were really smart, so they could definitely teach her. But she was also legally required to like still
have study hours and stuff.
So some like a friend or someone from Lima would mail her schoolwork to her to the middle of the rainforest.
Oh my gosh.
So she still had to do like her
How does a
homework.
mailman get out there?
Well, I'm sure there's
like a town that they have to travel. Yeah.
I would assume so.
Is this your foot?
That's my foot.
Sorry.
So that was 1968 when she moved out at 14, and about like 2 years later, the like educational authorities, she said, kind of started to crack down more, and they didn't really want her to. So she still would have to take a graduation exam, but they were kind of like, you've been just kind of out in the rainforest for the last several years, not sitting in a classroom learning anything. We don't know what you're learning. Like, they wanted her to come back to the school and be in class for a while before taking her graduation exam. So she did end up having to go back to Lima to finish out her schooling, and this was 1971.
I'm surprised for that time that they were that strict.
Yeah, I thought so too, but I have no idea what.
Yeah, that's
sure
just
they're
me
different all
making
over.
a complete assumption too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice that they cared that much, I guess. They're kind of like, we want to make, I assume it was because they were like, we want you to pass.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring you
it
back.
is a different country too, so like.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think she was kind of like sad to leave her parents, but she was happy to go back to the school and see her friends again.
Yeah,
and
I would be too, probably.
Yeah, so she went back out by herself. Like her parents stayed and did their research. So she went out. I think she stayed with like a friend's grandmother in like an apartment or something like that by herself. And it was 1971 was when she was to take her exam. So she passed. Her mom came out to meet her there in November of 1971, right before her graduation. I assume, like, it said she had matters to attend to, like, in the Capitol, but I assume she wanted to, like, go see her daughter's graduation.
Probably.
As well. So she went there, and, you know, she passed her exam. She was ready to go back to the rainforest with her parents to live. So her mom came back to fly with her. So they were going to fly back to Pucallpa, which again is the nearby city by Panguana, which the only place you could fly into to get back to where they lived. Her mom wanted to fly back on the day before Christmas Eve. Yes.
So from Lima, they have to go to Pucallpa and then go back down. Mm-hmm. There's nothing, like, wouldn't it almost, I guess that is,
depends, like, where
Pucallpa
your
is.
airports are, too. Yeah,
I was just thinking, like, couldn't you, like, drive or something on, you know, this Route 22 to 5N? You don't have the map in front of you.
I don't know.
But I guess that distance is a very long, like, distance this way.
Well,
compared to this way.
This was... I zoomed out so much to get that. Like, you have to zoom in really, really far to actually see where Panguana was.
Oh.
Like, if you bring it up...
Gotcha. Like, this is massive coverage.
Yeah. I had to zoom out so you could see where it was in relation to Lima and Pucallpa. And the name... I had to zoom out so much that the name disappeared. Like, you can't even...
Gotcha.
So, it is a lot further than it looks.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
And way more, like, remote. Like, it's not near that road, really. Like, it would still be miles and miles away from anywhere.
Okay.
But, yeah, so her mom really wanted to fly back the day before Christmas Eve because, like, her parents were so in love. Like, they loved each other so much. And
That's
she just
cute.
wanted to spend New Year's Eve with them so bad. And so she wanted to fly out the day before Christmas Eve because of it taking so long to get back to to where they lived. So she was like, I want to fly out on this day. But Juliane had a graduation ball that day on the day before Christmas Eve that she really wanted to attend to.
Why would they have a graduation ball?
I don't know.
On the day before Christmas Eve.
I don't know.
Well, also the area. Like, they're German, but...
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. The South America.
I mean, like, it seemed like a lot of... I mean, they still celebrate Christmas and everything.
Yeah.
But... I don't know.
I would assume there's a big portion that does, because... of how it spread.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she
really wanted to go to the graduation ball. So she was like, Mom, I don't want to fly out today. Can I really go to the ball? And then we could go out the next day. So her mom was like, okay, fine. We'll fly out on the 24th. So she was looking around trying to book flights, which, of course, is Christmas Eve. So, like, finding flights.
I forgot about the reason we're talking about her. And you keep bringing up flights, so it's going to happen soon, isn't it?
Maybe.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. Her mom kept calling around, and the only airline that had a flight that day to Pucallpa was LANSA. LANSA. That's the airline. Or the airport.
Okay.
LANSA. Which wasn't known to be super reliable. Because they had already lost 2 planes in previous crashes.
Okay,
they literally had 1 plane left, and this was the plane that they booked on.
No.
1 plane left. One of the crashes that had also happened to the previous planes ended up being an entire school class.
Oh my God.
That was on board, and only the co-pilot survived that one. Which is just...
That's
I didn't
horrific.
get into that, but I'm like, that's awful. Like, I don't know how... Yeah. So, anyway, they still booked a flight. They didn't have much of a choice. They booked flight 508. When, like, they were talking to her dad, he was specifically like, do not book with LANSA. Like, they're not reliable. Do not fly with that airline. But her mom was still like, well, I really want to see you. And, I mean, she didn't tell him this, but she was like, she just went and did it anyway because she was like, she really wanted to see him. There was no other flights going out that day. She would have had to wait a few more days to book with anybody else, and she just didn't want to do that. She didn't want to wait.
So this is the mom and Juliane booking.
Yes.
Together. Okay.
To go back home to her dad.
Okay.
And he specifically told them, like, don't book with that flight when you go and book your flight. Like, book with anybody else. But when it came time, her mom, Maria, was like, this is the only one going out this day. I don't want to wait any longer. I want to get home. So she booked it anyway. They arrived at the airport that day super early, but it was packed because, like, so many flights were canceled before and just the holidays. Like, everyone was trying to get home for Christmas. So they waited in line forever. A weird thing, someone else who was in that crowd that day was a famous filmmaker and actor. I think he was German. His name's Werner Herzog. I personally hadn't heard of him. I was looking at his list. Nothing really, but again, it was a lot of German movies that I haven't seen, documentaries. He was there that day because he was planning to film something back in Pucallpa where they were flying to. And I think he had like previous cancellation or something. He was just trying to get his crew on this specific flight, and he couldn't get tickets. He ended up obviously dodging a bullet later. We'll find out, and he'll come back into play a little bit later.
Like actually dodging a bullet?
No.
Oh, the way he had a smirk, I was like, oh my goodness.
No.
Does someone get shot in this too?
No, just like not being on, like someone who, it's just weird to think about, like if he would have been on the flight, he obviously wouldn't have made all the movies that he ended up making because he wouldn't have survived probably. But anyway, they ended up finally getting on the plane around like after 11 in the morning. It looked brand new. It was a turboprop is the kind of plane it was, which was, I don't know what that means. It was built by the company Lockheed. It was a model L188A Electra. Again, nothing, doesn't mean anything to me. I just want to throw that out there.
Nothing to me, but some people, yeah, maybe.
So it looked brand new, but it was later found out that this type of airplane was actually designed for use in desert regions and had already been taken out of service in the U.S. for years. So I guess I didn't realize that, but I guess it makes sense you would have specific planes for specific regions.
Yeah.
Obviously, because of the atmosphere and everything.
But it's made for a desert and you're putting it in like a rainforest scenario? Mm-hmm. Oh. So they have these strict rules about their schools, but not their aircrafts.
Apparently not. But, I mean, I'm sure those are all like individually like owned in a way, right? I'm sure there's some regulations they have to follow, but...
Yeah.
I'm sure, I don't know, but... Regardless, like, because of that kind of plane it was not suited for flight over the Andes, and it could not withstand turbulence. So, yeah. Also, it was found out later, it was assembled entirely out of spare parts of other airplanes.
So was this the first time it was flying there? It just so happened that this was the last one.
Yeah. So not a plane suited for the region, and it was made out of a lot of like entirely spare parts of other planes, which I'm sure there's, to an extent, you could reuse parts from other airplanes. Like, I mean, you can refurbish things and use them, but I'm sure there are a lot of wear and tear on a lot of things that you don't want to use.
You can't have the entire plane being
a hand-me-down of other planes. I don't know.
Is this photo her that boarding then?
It's after everything, but yeah. Mm-hmm. So the name, I guess I didn't realize that planes really had like also other like names, not like what their models are, but they end up naming the planes, like giving them names. Mm-hmm. So this one was named Mateo Pumacahua. Don't know if I said that right. Which was named after a national hero that fought for Peru's independence, who ultimately ended up being quartered by the Spaniards. But they named him after this national hero anyway. And because of the name, like whenever they were standing in line, Juliane, like she was talking to people around who was standing in line with her because they stood there for hours. And she was talking to some cute American boys about the name of the plane, and they were making jokes like, well, we'd better hope that the plane isn't quartered too, just like the national hero was. I'm like, that's a really, like,
That's something I would say.
But like foreshadowing in a way, right? And chilling to think about because they were just literally joking about.
Were they on the plane?
They were in line getting on the plane, and they were like, because of the name, they're like, oh, this guy was quartered. I hope the plane doesn't get quartered.
I didn't think about that.
It was kind of creepy.
I'm like really sad now because I'm like.
I know.
Thinking.
Yeah. Thinking is sad.
I don't want to say like what I'm talking about. I'm just going to let you keep going.
Okay. So they get on the plane, they take their seats, they end up sitting in the second to last row, and Juliane sits by a window seat where she can see the right side of the plane, the right wing. They sit like, so it's a kind of a bigger plane because it's like a bench seat that has 3 seats in it that she's sitting in. So that's just like a standard size. I think they're usually 3, right?
Mm-hmm. A bigger one, would be 3, yeah.
So she sits by the window, her mom sits in the middle, and some guy sits on the other end. Before I get further, I wanted to throw in here just some plane crash statistics real briefly.
Why?
Why?
Why do you have to do this? I said I'm okay with flying, and so it's like, not today.
I thought it was interesting. So I got this from, I think it's called Panish Law, Aviation Accident Stats. The link will be there, but this is from their website. Statistics show that up to 80% of all aviation accidents can be attributed to human error. The most dangerous times include takeoff and landing and the time periods right before and right after these events. Pilot error is thought to account for 53% of aircraft accidents, with mechanical failure being 21% and weather conditions being 11%. So most of it is because of human error. So something coming up and making a wrong decision on how to proceed through something.
Do I need to start like talking to the pilots a little bit more? Maybe.
I know. I didn't think that. I always thought it was way more going to be mechanical.
Yeah, I thought it was like pretty, like you know what to do, but it's more so you know what to do if something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I read like.
It makes sense.
Training, obviously, you're trained to do certain things, but whenever you're in the moment, sometimes it's
you
still
panic.
Like, yeah.
You don't know how you're gonna react.
Mm-hmm. I know.
That's a really high percentage. What was the very first percentage you said that it's due to human?
They say that up to 80% of all accidents can be attributed to human error.
I remember, I couldn't remember the percentage, and then it was 56 to pilots.
Yeah, pilot error is thought to account for 53%.
53.
Mechanical, 21%, and weather, 11%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I just want to throw that in there because I thought that was interesting. But anyway, back to Christmas Eve, 1971. The flight from Lima to Pucallpa normally takes only about an hour long. So the first 30 minutes of the flight went completely normal. Everyone's in high spirits. They're excited to celebrate Christmas. Like, the luggage bins are packed full with luggage and, Christmas presents and cakes and...
Why is it always like a holiday that these things happen?
I know. Which this was weird. About a half hour in, they were served lunch. I didn't know that you got lunches on like hour-long flights. Is that typically?
No, and you don't always get them like I've had really long flights. You don't get food, but I think this is what, the 70s, right?
True, yeah.
And like people were a lot more strict on like breakfast times, lunch times, and so like the flight was during lunch, so you probably served a lunch.
I guess that makes sense. I didn't think about the time.
And things were a lot more like concierge, like customer service.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Shit now.
Yeah, as long as you give them money, then you'll get your bag of crackers.
That makes sense. So yeah, they had lunch. Lunch was cleared away.
That's so crazy.
And
I want lunch on a plane.
Yeah, I've never had lunch on a plane. I've had snakes on a plane. Just kidding. Anyway, so as soon as they cleared off lunch, they started to hit a storm front.
Oh, no.
And instead of avoiding the storm, and no one knows why, but the pilot flies straight into the storm. So you'll see why I kind of mentioned about human error.
Yeah.
No one really knows why the the pilot did this
So
instead of
he
trying
could
to
have.
avoid it.
He could have.
I mean, I don't know that anyone knows if he could have avoided it or if he thought the best decision was just to hurry up and get through it.
Yeah, like he's so
I don't
close.
know.
It's not a long flight.
Like, who's to say when you're in that
It's
situation
the
what you're
rainforest.
doing?
Maybe
I
it's
don't
gonna
know.
be a second. I don't know. Yeah.
And Juliane said that it looked like everything around her turned immediately like to nighttime. They were in broad daylight, but it was so dark it was like it was night.
Yeah, that's scary.
And there's lightning all around them. The plane starts to shake. And then suddenly she sees like a blinding white light over out her right side window over the right wing of the plane. Blinding white light. So it was struck by lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've never been in a plane when there was a storm. I don't believe.
I've had like in the distance, like raining, and then I've been at the airport maybe. Yeah, with the delay. Like I remember like seeing planes and stuff.
I think
I have with like high winds though.
yeah.
Like I really hate small planes when we're like coming in from. Like if it's coming into state college, like I really don't like flying out of state college because of how small like the planes are. I'm not a big fan of small planes,
Right. It's
because of you feel everything. So yeah,
I've never been in a plane when there was like a storm. I bet, which I love thunderstorms, and this is terrible, but I wish I could have at least seen what it would look like out the plane windows when
I think
there's a
it'd be
storm.
yeah.
I think it'd be so cool.
Yeah,
And now this wasn't cool, obviously what happened, but like, I wish I could just like take a peek and see what that would have looked like,
yeah.
you know,
No, I got you.
without the risk of dying.
Facts.
So yeah, it was struck by lightning, and then all of a sudden the tip of the plane starts to fall down.
Wow.
Yep, it starts to kind of nosedive. And even though they're seated all the way at the back of the plane, she can see the cockpit from where she's sitting. Like she's completely straight up and down, looking down the aisle of the plane to the cockpit.
Thank goodness she was at the end of the plane, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Is she the only survivor?
yeah.
I thought I was like thinking that, and then I was like, I'm not gonna ask. I'm just gonna wait. But
Yeah.
now I can't wait anymore.
So they're falling. Everyone around her is screaming. And she hears her mother next to her quietly and calmly say, "Now it's all over."
Fuck you, Sid. Like, what the heck? Why?
That is so scary. Like, because up until now, like, Juliane was pretty calm up until, like, it started to nosedive. Because she didn't have a ton of experience in planes, but, like, she was literally just on a plane, like, weeks before this. She went on a class trip, and there was even, like, some turbulence, and it didn't bother her. She thought it was fun, like, the turbulence in the last plane ride she took. So she wasn't even worried about this until the lightning strike, the nosedive, and then her mom saying that next to her. She was just like, this is so scary.
I don't know how I'd feel I don't know how I'd feel if anybody actually said that. Like, what?
But, like, I think they say, like, right before you know you're about to die, you get calm.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
Do you think maybe, well, I'll let you get to it, but, like, if her being, like, the only survivor, like, when you're older, you have more, like, experience and things, like, you're tensing up, you're getting, like, you're thinking about all this stuff, but, like, she was younger, maybe wasn't as, like, do you think
Well, we'll get into
theories of
she
why
ended up-
she survived?
a little bit. I mean, it's not like there's not much to the theories, but you'll see how she ended up onto the ground.
Something's in my eye.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, good to know. Because I was, like, curious.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if she, like, had moved somewhere else.
You're fine. So, like, yeah, her mom said this. She's like, it's all over now. And then suddenly everything goes quiet. The screams go silent. The plane goes silent. She realizes Juliane, she's not in the plane anymore at all. She is outside of the plane. She's still strapped to her seat. And she's falling through the air alone.
I was like, how do you not know that you just, like, crashed into something?
She didn't crash yet.
It just, everything fell apart.
And she fell out of the plane in her seat. She's alone in the seat.
The plane's still intact for the most part. Everybody else is crashing together?
They don't really know that. I think it all just split apart.
Okay.
But
she's alone.
So her mom's not next to her anymore.
Okay.
That other guy is not in the seat anymore because it's a 3-seat bench, right? She was on the one end. So there's 2 empty seats next to her, which is really awful. I can't imagine, like, going on a plane with someone you love and then all of a sudden that happening and they're not next to you anymore. But we don't want to get this too sad.
Yeah.
But
no, I can imagine. I can imagine that, or like a car, yeah.
Yeah. So at about 10,000 feet in the air, she's falling through the sky. That's about like 2 miles above the earth.
Do you think most people would pass out?
I would think, and she did.
She did. Okay.
It was more so because like the way the seatbelt from holding her in the seat was like crushing her stomach so bad that she couldn't breathe, that she passed out. But I'm sure also just like the air rushing towards you, I feel like I would pass out.
The shock. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You'd probably be going pretty fast, right?
Yeah. I don't have the speed on that, but
you don't have the top speed.
I don't have the speed, but 10,000 feet in the air.
It'd probably feel like a long fall.
Probably. And I mean, it's probably a blessing that she passed out, because she passed out, and then the next thing, so it's like she passes out and she wakes up and she passes out again. And that's kind of a theme throughout this whole thing. So after she wakes up, she's still falling, and she remembers like hanging upside down at this point. So she's in the bench seat upside down hanging, but it doesn't.
At least the seatbelts worked.
At least the seatbelt worked. Because could you imagine? And she said that it looked like the way whenever she was falling, that she wasn't falling, but the ground, like the forest was rushing up to her, and it was like slow and it was like spinning. So it sounds like the whole bench seat was just kind of like rotating in the air as she was falling, which probably slowed her fall. We'll get into that.
Dude, you'd be so dizzy.
I would be puking. I can't
like,
stand it.
And like you're trying to get your like
but you're still probably so in shock you don't even really know what's happening.
Yeah, that's true. I'd be trying to navigate for a tree. I'd be like, whoop, over here.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's so scary.
Mm. Yeah, and she ends up passing out again during the fall still. And while she remembers, like, at this point when she passes out, she dreams, which is such an odd thing to remember. And, like, and you know how we just talked about, like, sleep paralysis, to, like, immediately go into dreams during that? I don't know what kind of
something just
state she was in, but...
Yeah, I was just, like, trying to keep... Maybe it's your body's, like...
Yeah, maybe it's, like, a defense mechanism to keep her from the trauma.
Yeah.
Or something. But she remembers some of her dreams. Like, first it felt like she was racing through, like, a dark tunnel, like a space, and she could hear, like, roaring and humming all around her.
Okay, well, if she passed out, it was probably a dark space, the crash roaring and humming. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe, you think?
Well, I mean, but at this point, she said it was quiet when she was falling. She wasn't in the plane anymore. But you would hear the wind would still be rushing by.
And there's a storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. And she goes from that dream into another one, and the whole time she just felt like the urgent need to wash herself. Like she was completely like dirty and sticky and covered in mud, and like that's what it felt like before she finally like wakes up again. And this time when she wakes up, it's on the ground. She had already made impact, and she realizes she's underneath the seat at this point, but her seatbelt's unfastened. So she's not sure if maybe she did like wake up and unbuckle and then pass out again. She can't remember that, but she remembers at one point she wakes up, she's already unbuckled and she's like...
She would have had to.
I would think so. Like,
you're not staying in that seat.
No.
Even like velocity, maybe pushing you for a minute, but like if you're spinning and stuff, right? You're not staying in that seat.
Well, I mean, she stayed in the seat the whole time.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, if you were unbuckled, you're not doing that in the sky.
And unless, like, as soon as she hit the ground is when it finally
It
like
clicked.
unbuckled,
Yeah.
which is insane.
Did she have any injury?
She had some, but not what you think she would have.
So she landed on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that it was upside down?
When she woke up, she was underneath like the seat. It was upside down.
So if you're underneath the seat, you're like kind of like hands and
Probably.
knees,
Like I'm
kind
sure
of?
the headrest and the bottom is kind of like keeping you hanging there, kind of.
On the ground.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Mm-hmm. And we'll get into...
I thought she was going to be in a tree.
Mm.
Like, I thought a tree would have stopped her.
Well, I think, and we'll talk about that briefly, but like, I think it slowed her down. I think
Okay.
that's part of how she survived.
Okay,
was-
she didn't just like plummet onto
No.
the ground. I was like, she had to have had something.
No. So she was pretty disoriented when she woke up. She didn't really know what was going on. And she ended up just kind of crawling deeper under the back of the seat and just kind of laid there for like the rest of the day. And because I'm sure she was like concussed out of her mind.
Traumatized, yeah.
I'm sure she had no idea what was happening. And so she just like, probably instinct, like
The
crawled
body,
into like
yeah.
a little spot and laid there. So she laid there for the rest of the day and a whole night. Just laid there. Completely soaked because it's, again, storming, it's raining. She was covered in mud and dirt, so that was probably part of her dream. She finally, like, when she did, as she laid there, she finally realized, like, what did happen. Like, she was in a plane crash. She's now in the middle of a jungle, and there's no one around her. She wasn't really scared at this time, but she felt, which was really sad, she just said she felt, like, a boundless feeling of abandonment. Which, yeah, I mean,
Oh my God.
like, you were on a plane full of people.
No, you don't even know where those people, like,
Mm-hmm. And you don't know where you are. You're in the middle of the rainforest.
yeah.
Yeah. She,
I could not imagine.
yeah. She tries to stand up. She can't. She passes out again. And like I said, this is going to be an ongoing thing, which you fall out of a plane, hit the earth, I'm sure you're going to be passing out a lot.
Yeah, I bet her body went through some wicked, like, like that would just be exhausting too.
Yeah. She's able to look at her watch and she could tell it's still working because she can hear it ticking, but she can't really read it because she realized like her left eye's like completely swollen.
Okay.
Her right eye, she can only see out like a little bit of a slit. And she wears glasses. She doesn't know where her glasses are. So on top of all that, no glasses. I wouldn't be able to see shit without my glasses.
Okay.
Contacts.
It would have been suspicious if she had nothing. I was like, okay.
So swollen left eye completely. Right eye swollen, but she could see out of a slit. No glasses. She keeps trying to stand up. She keeps passing out. She keeps trying again and again. Eventually, she's able to get up, and she's able to kind of, like, take note of what injuries she does have. So she notices that her right collarbone is broken. It's not, like, broken through the skin, which she can tell, like, the bones are split, and they're, like, overlapping and stuff.
Oh my God.
So,
that would
broken
hurt.
collarbone. That was literally the only thing broken.
Thank goodness. But ow.
She actually didn't even feel the pain. She said it did not hurt at all.
Yeah.
Which shock, I'm sure.
Do you think she keeps passing out from like concussions? Like that seems like
Probably.
Do you need more room?
No. Do you?
No.
Okay, I'm fine.
Okay.
I assume concussion, adrenaline. I'm sure her body is
Pain.
feeling pain, but she's not feeling because she's in shock.
Yeah, it's probably pain too.
But that was the only thing broken. She does find a gash on her left calf. It's about like 1.5 inches long and deep, but it's not bleeding.
What?
Which I thought was weird.
So weird. Mud. She's covered in mud, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the mud patched it up.
She felt around some more, and she also found like on her upper arm, I think it was her right arm, back like behind it, like she couldn't really see it, but she could tell that there was like about a dime size, an inch deep of another like little gash that also wasn't bleeding. But as for injuries, that's all that she had
That's
when
wild.
she woke up. Yeah, it was like, that was it. I mean, definitely concussion, obviously, broken collarbone, and like
The
2 gashes
Yeah.
after
aren't
falling
bleeding.
out of a plane.
Yeah.
10,000
And
feet in the
having
air.
nothing to cover you, like you can't tell me that chair was that like protective. Obviously,
Right.
protected her to get to. a landing point, but like...
Yeah. And like I said, like some theories. So in particularly extensive thunderclouds, there's usually like updrafts from the storm, and it could have like pushed her up as she was falling and slowed her fall down. So that's the thing that just happens with the weather, is the updraft. So as the wind was going up,
Interesting.
she was falling down, so it kind of like slowed her as she went down.
So
Plus she was
saved her.
slowly spinning, which would have, I assume, slowed it down a little bit more.
It was a slow spin, they're saying?
Well, the bench definitely was spinning. I mean, it was a 3-seat bench. She was on one end of it, and it would have been...
I guess, like, you said bench, but I don't know why I was, like, picturing that her seat, like, broke off from
no,
that.
she has those 3 seats.
So the other people just fell out? Mm-hmm. I didn't want to think about it like that.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, everybody else had a harder, like, fall in their seat.
No, like, her whole bench seat came out. Her mom fell out of her seat, and another guy that sat in their row fell out of that seat as well. So it was just her. So when you think about it, only her weight is on one end of it, so it's going to be spinning like a
yeah, that makes sense.
So that obviously would have like slowed it down more. Plus, in the rainforest, it's such a dense like
Canopy.
network of canopy of. I think they're called lianas trees that would have also cushioned her fall as she went down. So all of these things together, probably what helped her survive the crash.
Trees that we talked about with the jumping?
Oh, probably. Where was that? Was that in Peru?
It was Vanuatu, which no. But I think...
But that does sound familiar.
Yeah, the lianas or whatever sounds familiar.
But that was kind of also like a rainforest, right? Where they lived?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was the liana tree. Sorry, I was like, I know that tree.
Yeah,
How do I know a tree?
Yeah. How do I know a tree? So it had those trees all over the place, so combination of all those things slowed her fall down.
Yeah, and they're so like thick with different like padding.
I'm surprised she's not more cut up from going through the branches and stuff.
It must have been how she was on that bench seat.
Yeah. It's a miracle that she survived. It's crazy.
It is wild.
Yeah. But like I said, that's not like where this ends.
Of course.
That's just where it starts, pretty much. It was her surviving this plane crash, because now she's in the middle of the rainforest alone.
Oh, and no one can like find her.
Exactly. So when she's finally able to stand, she does like, after she realizes she's in this plane crash and she's alone, she does try to like crawl around and try to find her mom, call out to her. Obviously, she can't find her.
I mean, wouldn't you I would do it now at this age.
Well, she can't get up, so that's also why she's like crawling. She still can't stand up at this point. Finally,
you know how scary, like rainforests, just in general, like there's.
But she grew up in them.
That's true.
So she had a little bit of an edge, which you'll see. But she finally is able to stand up, and she can't see or hear anything around her. Like there's no other wreckage. It's just her row of seats.
Yeah, she was probably far away, right?
Yeah. She only has one shoe on. She lost her other one, and it's not even much of a shoe. It's a sandal that she wore to her graduation ceremony. So it's like an open back sandal. She kept it on. It's just, I guess some people later were like, why did you keep one shoe on and not just go barefoot? But like, if you think about it, well, she couldn't see without her glasses. So at least she could step with that foot with the shoe on in case she would step on something
of protection.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I would do something like that. Yeah.
She was also wearing a thin mini dress. Like, she was not dressed for the rainforest. She was only wearing this little dress.
Makes you rethink what you're going to wear to the airport the next time, huh?
Honestly. Yeah, dude, I'll be, like, decked out in survival gear.
Yeah.
In case.
My carry-on is a backpack of, like... Except you can't get, like, half the stuff.
True, you can.
Survival stuff.
She notices that she's extremely thirsty, which, of course, she's been laying there for, like, a day and a half.
With no drinking,
or a day, like a whole day and a half with not drinking anything. And she's starving. She's able to find water drops on nearby leaves to drink. Super smart. She finds a bag of sweets. So there was like, I don't know, she didn't find any other wreckage, but like along with her seat there was like a bag of like sweets and a Christmas cake that must have fell out of the luggage bin and somehow made its way with her.
That's that yawn came from. That's wild.
Yeah, so she was able to...
She was meant to survive.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Like, this whole thing is so crazy.
A piece of cake.
But she didn't end up... She did try the cake, but it was completely soaked and muddy.
Okay, I'd eat it.
She couldn't, like, stomach it, so she left it. She just took the bag of candy with her. But at least it was something.
I don't even like cake, and I'd probably eat that.
Yeah, I would... She later regrets not taking it with her.
Oh, okay.
But at the time, she just ended up taking the candy. So at least
That's
she had
fair.
something. All morning and afternoon, she stays like at the crash site, and she just kind of explores around her, try to get her bearings until she can build up the strength to move any further. She searches for other people constantly. She's calling out to them. She doesn't hear anybody, but she does hear the hum of engines, airplanes circling above, a search party looking for the plane. But they can't see her.
Right, because there's a huge canopy of trees.
Mm-hmm. So she can hear them, but she has no way of letting them know that she's there.
Yeah. Do you know I'm going to start a flare gun, like a little pop-up tent, a poncho.
Everywhere you go.
A compass.
You're on your way to get groceries. You're just packing that
every
stuff
time I'm
with you.
flying. Just in case.
You're not getting any of that stuff on the plane with you.
Most of that stuff would.
But again, like...
carry on.
Yeah, but that's in the luggage bin.
No, not your carry-on.
But like, well, okay.
I just have a backpack,
so
like a survival
you just hold
backpack.
onto it as you're falling.
Yeah.
Like hold it on your lap as you're falling out of the plane.
Oh yeah, because it would be
probably up in the luggage bin.
You're right. Well, once we hit turbulence, I'm like, move.
Like, do they even let you take stuff out during turbulence?
If it came down to it, I wouldn't care.
It doesn't matter right now, but like, yeah. Yeah, there you go. Always pack an extra little carry-on with your survival gear.
Yeah. What the heck is happening?
So.
That's so crazy.
I know. At least she had the candy. But yeah, she
imagine wearing a thin mini dress.
No, and one sandal. No glasses.
No
You can't even
glasses.
see.
Yeah, no.
And like you hear them above you, but you cannot show that you're there.
Just so sad.
Yeah, that would be awful. But then she also hears a separate sound that is familiar. She hears the sound of water, and she finds a spring nearby, which is great, so she can get a drink. And it gives her a little bit of hope because she remembers something that her dad had said to her once. He's told her that if you ever get lost in the jungle and you find flowing water, stay near it, follow it. It's going to bring you to other people. So that came back to her. So another part of her like survival instincts from growing up in the rainforest. She was like, okay, I found this water. I can at least stay hydrated. I'm going to follow it in case it brings me to other people. It's hard to follow because it's a windy, stream. It's a stream that turns into like, well, it's a spring that turns into like a stream and then eventually into a river. But, it winds, and she doesn't have her glasses on, so she doesn't want to take any shortcuts at all. Mm-hmm. Like just by like trying to avoid some of the windiness.
Right.
She doesn't want to get lost and get too far away from it.
Not only she doesn't have her glasses, her eyes are swollen. Mm-hmm. Like I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. So she's trying to stay like directly along the bank so she doesn't get too far from it. And because of that, there's like, dense brush, there's trees, there's roots. Like she's having to go over all of this stuff in the state she's in. So it takes so long just to like move around at all. And she ends up following it for a while. She walks until it gets dark that day. So this is the day after the crash. So again, it crashed on Christmas Eve.
And then she was down for about a day and a half.
Yeah, because their flight was at 11, so it was probably, like noon?
Yeah. Or
so, 12:30, when she crashed. She laid there all day and night. So then on Christmas Day, she follows the water.
Okay.
And she does that until it gets dark. And
wow.
She finds a spot to, like, to lay down, and she eats some of the candy She can't even start a fire because it's rainy season. What?
I don't know why I'm just like so picturing her with this seat on her this bench seat on her back.
She does not have
I'm
it
just
on her back.
picturing her walking.
Nope.
Anyways.
She can't even like start a fire because it's the rainy season in the forest right now, so everything's soaked. Like she literally can't do that. So she just kind of lays there. Plus it's still like raining off and on, and it's like freezing
It's
rain.
so cold. Yeah.
It's so cold, and she's in this dress. Yeah, so that's where she is at the moment. Meanwhile, news, is out about the plane. They're searching for the plane. Her dad gets news about what happened, but he's not super worried because he doesn't believe they're on the plane at all, because he didn't think that his wife booked that flight because he told her not to. It's awful.
Gut-wrenching.
I know. There was a quote, like he said, "My wife would never have set foot on that airplane." So he really believed that they were not on there. And then the next day he ends up turning on the radio, and they list the names of
the people who
passengers.
booked. Yeah.
So he does find out, which is just horrifying, because you went from not thinking they were even on it to, oh, they're both on it. Where are they?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, she wakes up the next day. This is December 26th. She's still not really afraid. I assume she's still in shock. And she's still not having any pain, but she knows instinctually she needs to get out of there. Like, she's alone in the rainforest. She continues to follow the stream. She's climbing over stuff. She sees all kinds of like creatures while she's out there.
Yeah.
But she's used to being in the rainforest, so she's not super upset about them. But she does come across, which I forgot to put a picture in there. You're probably glad I didn't.
I forgot about pictures.
But she comes across a bird-eating spider.
No.
Can you imagine how big a spider has to eat a bird?
Stop.
It leaves her alone, thankfully, but she does see things like that.
Moving on.
There's no picture. It's okay. She eventually starts to wade in the water versus just walk along the bank. And as she does, she kind of comes out into like an open clearing above her, and she can like hear and see the planes, but they still can't see her. Like, she has no way to she has no way to, she doesn't have a flare gun, she doesn't have fire, she has no way to indicate that she's down there. So they're still searching. They're so close to her, and they can't find her.
That'd be awful.
And she truly believes that, like, she's the only one hasn't been rescued yet. She thinks everyone else was probably, like, rescued, and
that's why she can't find them.
And she thinks that she's just there alone, which is awful. And she believes, like, her mother was also rescued and everything. She keeps going on. She's, like, this is all she's doing all day. She's just walking along or in the stream, just keeps following the current. Always stepping with her sandaled foot first, just in case. On the fourth day of her, survival, she hears a sound that she recognizes that terrifies her. She hears the sound. There's a picture of this one. The sound of large flapping wings that are louder, and they last longer than other birds, so she knows what it is. It's a king vulture.
Ooh.
Which they always appear whenever there's a great deal of carrion in the forest. Like dead, meat and stuff. So now she's like...
Carrion? Is that what it's called?
Carrion.
Oh, I wasn't correcting you. Just used, like, carcasses.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So, I mean, that's what vultures do, obviously.
Right.
So she was like, she knows that there has to be a lot nearby for them to be around. And so she's like, what am I going to find? So she comes around the next bend in the river, and she finds another 3-seat bench like hers.
Oh, no.
But this
Sid, I don't even know why I wasn't thinking about them feeding on people. Oh, no.
So she goes up to this bench seat. And this is awful. This one the seat itself was rammed head first into the ground, about 3 feet into the ground, with the passengers in it. So only their legs were sticking out.
Their heads had been crushed. Do you know how fast they had to have been falling? Oh my gosh.
And when you think about the fact that she survived, but there was 3 of them in the seat, which saved her life, that she was the only one in the seat that slowed her down.
Yeah. Literally.
So I have like chills, but the fact that her mom wasn't there, if she would have been in the seat, they probably would have both died.
Facts. Probably. I shouldn't say facts, but
in theory.
Yeah.
She ended up, now, I'm sure she was still, like, in a panic, but she did end up going, so that she could tell it was 2 men and a woman, and she was, like, all of a sudden worried it was her mom, which it wouldn't have been, obviously. She was sat in her seat, so logically it wouldn't have been her mom, but she still went over and she, like, checked the toenails, because her mom never painted her toenails, so she went and looked, and they were painted. She was like, oh, it's not my mom. But, like, it wouldn't have been anyway. But still, like, I'm sure when you're in that...
You would probably, you know what I mean? Like, how could you not check?
Yeah. So she keeps going on. She doesn't really find much else around. So she keeps following the water. She's still hearing the planes. Eventually she runs out of candy, and so she has nothing else to eat. She just has the spring water to drink. Most of the things that grow in the forest, well, it's the rainy season, so, like, there's not a ton of things that are growing right now anyway. And the things that do grow, a lot of it's poisonous. So she knows, like, she can't really eat much of that. So she just keeps drinking a ton of water, because she knows at least she can survive without food for a while if she has water. The water itself is brown and, like, has dirt in it. Like,
ask if it was, like, safe.
Like, whenever they would, like, where they lived, they obviously lived off nearby water as well, but they would, you know, filter it, and they would boil it, and it was clean.
Yeah.
So this was just straight. So, I mean, you could definitely get... Sick. But she didn't really have a choice. I mean, she had to stay hydrated if she wanted to survive. So she kept drinking it. Eventually she loses track of the days. I mean, I would too. Because her watch stops working. And so this is either December 29th or the 30th at this point, which is the 5th or 6th day after the crash. She's been in the forest for 5 or 6 days so far. Insane. She ends up hearing, like, a specific type of bird call that she recognizes, which is amazing. To even, like, be able to distinguish between different bird calls, that's never going to be me. But she hears this kind of bird. It's called a hoatzin, and she's heard this a lot, like, where she lived in Panguana, so she knows she's not that far. And she hopes that since these birds nest near large bodies of water, that she thinks this water is going to, like, lead to more civilization and actual people nearby. So she keeps following it. She tries to go as fast as she can, but she obviously can't move super fast as she's climbing over things. She finally makes it to the... she keeps seeing, like, the planes above her this whole time and hearing them, and they can't see her. She waits there for a while at one point whenever the trees open up and she can see them, like, waving to them, and they leave, and she waits there a while, and they don't come back, and she truly believes that, like, they just kind of left her there, that they're done searching, that they found all they can find, because this is days later. I don't know how long they continue to, like, usually in accidents, how long people continue to search. If they're not finding anything, like, how long before they give up. But she believes that she, like, was just left there. She keeps swimming, like, she manages to...
They're actually, like, swimming in water. Heck no.
Well, like, she tries to stay on the bank and wade in the water, but she also has to try to, like, avoid all these other things in the forest, like stepping on snakes.
Yeah, I guess that's spiders, what I'm just, like, thinking about, like, all the things that could get you.
Exactly. Like, and the reason she started swimming, I guess, is there's also piranhas, and I guess they stay more in the shallow areas.
So she didn't want to walk in the shallow areas.
So she tried to swim most of the time, too, to try to avoid that. Like, she's so smart. Like, to know all the, like, because I wouldn't be swimming in the middle, you know, or, like, in the deep parts.
I wouldn't be swimming if there's piranhas.
Yeah. Because, I wouldn't know where they would be swimming. But, like, yeah, she just, everything that she learned and lived through leading up to this prepared her for...
It's incredible.
It's insane. as she keeps going, like she starts to worry a little bit more about her wounds that she has.
Yeah.
The one on her calf, even though it wasn't bleeding anymore, like it was swollen and like the flesh was like white.
Infection?
I would assume so. She said it still didn't hurt though. The one on her arm, when she finally gets a good look at it, she notices that apparently, probably while she was sleeping, that flies had laid eggs in her wound, and now they hatched into maggots that are already
in her arm.
half an inch long. Yep. Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah. You okay?
No. Imagine maggots being in your arm.
Oh, but she knows she knows she needs to like do something. She has a little like spiral shaped ring, I guess, that she's able to like kind of bend around, and she like makes them into like little tweezers to try and like pull some of the maggots out. But she can't really get to them. As soon as she tries, they like to burrow. So like as soon as you try to get them, they're like burrowing into your skin even more. And she's super worried about like, she's not so much worried about them because they don't really hurt you. Like, because I mean, they're parasites, so they want a living host, so they're not trying to kill you, But she's worried about like infection at this point because of swimming in like the dirty water with all of her wounds. Yeah. Because if it got infected that bad where it was, she could like possibly lose her arm or her leg.
Ew.
But there's really nothing that she can do. I mean, she can't really reach it. She can't really see it. She can't get any of the maggots out. She just needs to keep going. Like, you know what I mean? So she just pushes on with maggots in her. She sees all kinds of wildlife. They don't really bother her. At one point, I feel like you mentioned that you like these a lot. She can hear howler monkeys.
Love them.
Yeah. So she can hear them, which kind of makes her think a little bit because they're super shy and they're not usually around people. So that kind of was like, oh shit, I don't think there's people around here.
But you can hear them for like over a mile away.
They sounded close.
Yeah.
So she kind of was assuming
we're not near people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she just keeps getting weaker and weaker because she has no food. Like, she just has this water.
Yeah, and she's trekking in like not easy. I'm sure it's not an easy walk.
No. And this whole time too, she's getting extremely sunburnt, like blistering. Like, it turns out she ended up getting like 2nd-degree burns from the sunburn. I mean, she has no protection.
Wow.
So just on top of everything else, she's
a really bad burn.
Yeah. So during the days, she just keeps like swimming or lets herself drift with the current. At night, she's like camping out on the banks, trying to avoid the animals. She's like trying to like stay in bushes or like put her back to trees and stuff to try to keep herself protected. Which, by the way, when you're out in the middle of the rainforest, it's probably going to be pitch black also.
So dark. I was thinking that.
So unless you have a bright moon that night, you're not seeing anything.
No, that'd be so scary.
So you're gonna have to rely on like your
noises.
Yeah, she heard all kinds of stuff while she was laying there. As she each day she keeps getting up doing the same thing. As she keeps going, the current starts to pick up some more, which is good. So it helps her like just be able to drift and not exert herself too much. But she still needs to kind of avoid like any obstacles that are in the water, like if there's logs and whatnot, because that's gonna hurt her more in her state. She says the whole time too, like it's almost like she was hallucinating. Like she kept like thinking she would see something or hear, like she thinks she would see like houses, rooftops, or like hear like chickens, like there's farms nearby or people, and all the time it's not real. Like she's not seeing or hearing any people around. At one point, she's resting on a sandbank in the river, and she starts to doze off when she recognizes like a little squawking sound, and she opens her eyes and she sees a bunch of baby caimans, which are like alligators, right? They're only about like 8 inches long.
Yeah, so they're not really.
But still, she knew like the mom was probably nearby, and she's like, "I'm in danger. Like this is not."
I
good.
would feel that way. I've been waiting for you to bring up the caimans because I spotted the photo, but
she's like these guys are okay, but like when the mom sees I'm here, she's gonna come after me. And the mom is there, and she starts like coming towards her, like pretty threateningly. So, but Juliane, she's like so cool, so calm, and she knows what she needs to do, because like she just lets herself like drift back into the water, like slowly and calmly, and just like lets herself drift away from them, and they don't go after her.
Like no sudden movements.
If she would have like got up and like ran anywhere, they would have went after her.
Right? Yeah.
So the fact that she knows,
Smart.
so smart. So again, she doesn't have food, but because of the raining season, there are frogs all over the place. So she does at one point try to catch some of these frogs. They are poisonous frogs, but not enough to like kill an adult. So she's not super worried, so she still tries to catch them. It would just like upset her stomach, but the whole time she can't catch any at all, which is just so sad.
Disappointing.
But I mean, she's also so weak. Like I'm sure like when you try, I'm sure it's like the slowest movement that you're doing trying to catch them.
Yeah.
And you can't get them. She's now on the 10th day in the rainforest. She's drifting in the water. She's bumping into shit. She finds like a bank to rest on for an evening, and she's getting ready to close her eyes when she looks and she spots something that she doesn't think is real. She sees a boat.
But it's real.
It's real. She goes over and she touches it. She's like, this is real. She definitely thought she was hallucinating.
Wait. So she laid down as she's dozing off.
And yeah, she just happened to
and
like...
she touches it? So she was
No,
close
she saw
to it?
something. And then she was like, what is that? She's rubbing her eyes. She's like, is that a boat? And she like goes over and she sees it.
So she jumps in the water, or it's on the bank?
It's like tied up.
Oh.
So yeah. Near the boat, she notices that there's a trail going up from the riverbank, like up into like the forest some more. And she's like, that's not a natural trail, like someone made that. So there's somebody nearby. So she goes up this trail, which is only like 15 to 20 feet, but it takes her hours to get up it in her state. So you think it took her that long? Imagine how
10
days
far
now.
she actually went with 10 days too.
Yeah.
Like towards the end, it probably wasn't that far.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she goes up this path and she finds a little like hut nearby. It's just like poles, palm leaf roof, bark floor, like open walls and stuff. But it's just like a little storage unit, not unit, but like a little storage hut for like the boat stuff. Like there was gasoline and there was boat parts and whatever.
I'm so sorry.
She didn't see anybody else. But as she went in there and she sat and she was like looking around through the things and she's like, that gasoline, I can use that for her maggots. Not for the boat. For like the maggots.
Like the smell would make them come out?
Yes, so like
stop
she
burrowing
knew
in their
that
skin?
alcohol or gasoline, if that gets poured into a wound with maggots, they will come out because they don't like it.
She's gonna pour gasoline into a wound?
She finds like a hose and she like sucks up the gasoline, like drips it onto her arm, and she says it burned awfully, but she did get some of them to come out, thankfully. She used her little tweezers at the same time. She ended up pulling, at this time, 30.
Stop it.
30 maggots.
And that's not even all of them?
That's not all of them. No, she'll get more out later, but it was smart to do. I mean,
super smart, yeah.
So she sits there. No one is around. Like, she hasn't seen anybody come by. She decides just to kind of stay the night there. So she finds a tarp in there and kind of covers herself up. And she doesn't stay in the hut because she said the floor was way too hard for her body. Like, she needed something soft. So she went back to the sandbank, like riverbank. And she laid down, like, wrapped herself up in a tarp. She said that was, like, the best night of sleep she's ever had.
Poor girl.
Because, I mean, every night, the bugs are so bad in the rainforest, okay? Yeah. And she has no protection all the time. So when she tries to sleep normally, she's getting just eaten alive by bugs.
On top of, like, third-degree burns.
And the wounds and broken collarbone.
What a survivor.
Oh, my gosh. And she wakes up the next morning. There's still nobody around. She starts to get worried because she's like, this might not be a boat that anyone really tends to.
Yeah,
like,
this is just like
here.
yeah.
So she does think about maybe trying to take the boat But she has the thought, like, but what if the owner is nearby and I strand them here? I'm like, you're such a good person. Like, you just went through hell. You should just take it. But she's also
she doesn't want to put that person through
exactly.
this. Yeah.
Plus, she's also not sure that she could even navigate the boat.
Right. Like, what if there is a person here that then can help me navigate boat? Yeah.
Because, I mean, in the state that she's in, she'd have to, like, drive it, you know what I mean, and avoid obstacles and not wreck and make her, you know, hurt herself more. So she's just, like, she doesn't know what to do. She just kind of hangs out there for a little while. She was going to leave, and then it started raining, so she stayed longer. She just kind of sits there. She tries to catch frogs in the meantime. She can't catch any
Did they
frogs.
stop flying the airplanes over them?
Yeah, she has not heard, I don't think, anything lately.
So use that gasoline, baby.
Oh, true. But it's also so rainy, I don't know how she would even start it. The rain eventually stops in the afternoon, and she doesn't have the strength to get up at this point. So she's just like, I'm going to stay here one more night, and then I'm going to go the next day and just keep following the river, because obviously nobody's coming back. So at this point, it's like twilight, and she starts to hear voices.
Whoa.
And then she realizes it's not in her head. She's hearing voices. And she sees 3 men come out of the forest, and they're just like, they see her, and they're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
They were like startled and shocked, and they kind of like jumped back a little bit. I mean, you would though. When, you know, there's just a random girl sitting in your hut.
Right, and like you're in
the middle of the forest.
Yeah, in the middle of a rainforest. Not many people are.
So because she can speak Spanish, she tells them, I'm a girl who was in the Lanza crash. My name is Juliane. And they just kind of stare at her for a minute. Because later they say that, we're glad that you talked to us, because at first we thought you were like a jungle spirit of some sort, with the way that she looked, and where they found her. Because not only she was in like, you know, a state, but it turned out all of the blood, she didn't know this at the time, all of the blood vessels in her eyes burst.
To the red.
Her eyes were completely bloody. Even the irises.
Yeah.
All red. So
have you ever seen someone's eye like that? It's
yes.
Terrifying.
And I've never seen the whole eye, though.
I've seen the whole eye.
So both eyes.
I haven't seen both. I've just seen like
bloody.
one.
She would look like a little demon.
Yeah.
In the forest.
With like mangled hair and stuff, and like ripped up. Yeah.
Yeah. And like a white dress. Like, you would look like a little spirit, probably. So, I mean, they get over their shock. They're like, oh my God, she is from this plane crash that everyone's been searching for. So they take her back. They kind of take care of her at their camp that they have. They tend her wounds. They feed her. They pull out more maggots. I think she had like over 50 maggots at one point.
It's disgusting.
She asks them if the other passengers were rescued. They tell her no, they haven't even found the plane yet. So, like, she was literally the only person they have found.
Ma'am.
They found nothing. And so far, she's
the only they need
survivor.
to stop flying over it and maybe put people down in. You're not going to find it flying over it, right?
No, not with the way that it is. So they take her back to, like, a nearby village the next morning. She gets treated, you know, by nurses and everything. The news hits the media. Her dad finds out that she survived. As soon as the news hits the media, she didn't even like talk to anybody, but all of a sudden all these interviews come out that she didn't actually give. And
That's
all this stuff
up.
ended up being made up. Like, some said that she ended up making a raft and she floated down the river from the whole time, where Indians saw her drifting, and she had like passed out, and when she woke up, she like talked to them, and she said like, there are dead people out there, and it's
That's
just
so
really
messed
weird. Like, why
up.
even make anything up?
Yeah.
It's so weird. So
Anything
a lot
for
of
a
things
story.
like that happen. I know. So she gets treated, her wounds get taken care of, and then while she's there, there's this American pilot who comes to talk to her, and she's like, hey, I have a plane, and I'm on my way to, I think it's called, so it's Instituto Linguístico de Verano in Yarinacocha, which is a nearby place.
Because you just spoke gibberish
like,
to me.
I know. It's some like, I don't know, her name's Jerry Cobb, and she's like, there's this place that there's missionaries at, that they're studying languages and translating the Bible, but like there's a lot of good doctors here as well. Like I can fly you over there to get better treatment.
I would not want to go on a plane.
Dude, no, I wouldn't do that. But she's like scared to death. She's like, I don't really want to do that, but she's way too weak to even like protest doing that.
Right.
And she believes that she might get better care anyway, and she needs like the best care she can get. So she's like, okay. So she gets on the plane.
Could you imagine? And then it crashes.
Oh my god. I don't even know how you'd feel okay asking a plane crash survivor to get on a plane like a day after she gets back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the pilot, she like, which I thought this was cool. So female pilot, okay, and she reassures her that like she's in safe hands. She was actually the first woman in the world to be trained as an astronaut.
Whoa.
Yeah, like
cool.
What are the chances? So I guess if you're gonna have to fly right after a plane crash,
might be the one.
That's who you want to go with.
Yeah.
But she said it was like complete torture. Like it was only 20 minutes, but she was in like torment because she was forced to lie down during the flight instead of sit up and see because of her injuries. So she had to lay down, and it was a small plane. And the pilot, like, I guess when she was flying, like the turns, she kind of like leaned into the turns. So I'm sure you felt everything more as you're laying down.
You just went through a really bad crash. I feel like it'd freak you the freak out.
Yeah. So she gets through it though. She arrives. She gets great treatment. She gets like all the maggots removed. She also ended up having maggots in her leg and that other wound as well. Can
we stop with that?
No.
It's
so
disgusting.
They soak gauze in like some kind of like chemical, and they stuff it into those wounds
to push them out.
Let it sit, and then like pull them out, and like that's how they get them out. It's like,
it's so cool but nasty.
Yeah. They also found like a really long splinter in her foot that she had no idea that she had the whole time. And of course
her body must have been so numb to it all.
Probably. And she had bug bites all over her body, of course, that were all like inflamed and swollen, so those had to get treated.
It's incredible what a human body can do.
I know.
Well, a human soul, but like, yeah.
And so like as she gets treated, like she tells people like where she was, or, like at least as best as she can, like where she was, so they're able to kind of backtrack and they can find the wreckage from what she told them. Her father comes to meet her and stays with her. They as they're searching, they do finally find the other people. She ends up getting, this was kind of random, but like after she was treated, she's still recovering, but she ends up getting like a super high fever that lasts for days.
I'm not surprised. Out of nowhere,
and they didn't really know what caused it.
Probably everything.
Yeah.
I mean, being out in the cold and the rain, too.
And then all of a sudden, too, like they said her left knee swells up really bad, and no one is sure why until they can go get it checked out. And it turns out, like, a few months later, an orthopedist looked at it. She had tore a ligament during the crash, and he said that she shouldn't have been able to walk on it the entire time.
Adrenaline and just, like, brute
I think there was
determination.
I think her mom was definitely looking out for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like,
that's insanity.
The fact that she survived it all, being the only one in the seat, because her mom wasn't there, knowing to follow the water, like how to avoid those like dangerous creatures, and then when she finally found that hut, the amount of time she spent there to be able to have those men come out at the same time to meet her. Like, 'cause if she would have left a little bit sooner to go down the water, she would have missed it, and she never would have been found.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, all these things just kept adding up. It's just so creepy. Not creepy, but, like, freaky.
All the lines, yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It's wild.
Yeah. Because she ended up being out there a total of 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. That's insane to me. By yourself, 11 days in the rainforest. But, anyway. January 7th and 8th is when they start to, like, find the wreckage, and they find the passengers who were all, like...
How do they find it? Through the airplanes?
Mm-hmm.
That's wrong.
Yeah. And I think helicopters and stuff. But
wow.
everyone's, like, demolished. Like, she was the only one. The whole area smells like decomposition. Like, it's the total wreckage was like 2.5 mile diameter of wreckage.
I was about to ask if everything kind of stayed, for the most part, stayed together, but I guess not.
Yeah. And as they found people, they later found out that a few people, because of how well they were preserved by the time that they found them, that some of those people survived the initial crash and just died from their injuries, and that did include her mother.
Yikers.
I know, and which devastated her, because she was like, if I only would have been there.
Her mom survived without a seat and just flying willy-nilly throughout this.
Yeah, and the whole time, too, like, the media's, like, vultures with her, because she's the only one that survived, so they're all over her about interviews and everything. She tries to, like, do her best to stay away from that.
There's only so much you can do, too.
And they could be really nasty. Like, they accused her of leaving the crash site, like, without helping anybody or worrying about anybody else. And she's like, there was nobody around. But of course, they can make
go
up
find where
want.
my bench was.
Yeah. Some newspapers even wrote that there were survivors wandering around the forest, screaming and crying, but she just kind of ran off on her own.
What was she supposed to do anyways?
But, like, that's the thing, there wasn't.
Yeah.
They just, like, made that up. They're like, oh, she left and...
But even if they were screaming and crying, then either she dies or they go with her.
Yeah.
Like, that's a stupid story.
Yeah. But she's also getting tons of letters all the time, too, from, like, people who were, like, congratulating her, and they're like, we're so glad you survived, like, let us know if you need anything, and giving her their condolences about her mother, and letting her know that she's not alone. She's getting letters from, like, children to, like, really old people, like,
Mom.
all over the world.
It's a lot. It's overwhelming.
She would even get some, like, from psychics. People claiming to be psychics and, like, saying all weird things, like...
You don't know. You didn't meet her. Yeah. You're just watching this. Come on.
She continues to recover. She eventually does go back to Panguana with her dad for a little bit. But their relationship was never the same.
I bet.
Yeah, like, he loved her mother so much, and...
They couldn't look at her.
Yeah, it was really hard. He, at one point, wanted to send her back to Germany to live, not even back to Lima, but he wanted to send her, like, to, like, her grandparents' house to live because of the media, like... She did eventually go back to school in Lima, and he went and flew with her, and she went to stay, like, where she stayed before when she was going to school, and she wanted to study biology, she wanted to, like, continue, like, her parents' work, and in the beginning, as she was there, she kind of stayed to herself and didn't go out because of the media, because they were all over her all the time. Her one friend convinced her to go out, like, swimming or something, to, like, a pool. And she was like, the media's not going to be there. They're not going to let them in, like, blah, blah, blah. They go, they change. They come out of the changing room, they get ready to swim, and they're there with cameras and microphones. And they kind of force her into an interview. And it just so happens that this... At the same time, like, whenever it aired, her dad was visiting a friend, and her dad, they put on the news, which he never watches the news, but of course the one time he watches the news is when it's her daughter getting interviewed in a bikini, and she's 17 years old, and they're asking her, like, how she's doing and how she's coping, and she's like, I'm okay, like, and he gets so pissed off. He's like, this is how you mourn your mother, and blah, 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 and...
Not good. Not healthy.
Good. So he freaks out, and he sends her to Germany at this point, and, like, she lives with her gram, and it's just a whole big thing. Like, she wants to come home and visit at one point, and he basically tells her no, and it's not great.
That's awful.
It's really sad. He passed away eventually in 2000, but... She continues her work. Like I said in the beginning, she becomes, like, a mammologist, specializes in bats. She still gets on airplanes. She has a little bit of fear with it, but she still gets on. She still loves the rainforest. She ended up devoting her life to the preservation of Panguana. Like, she wanted it to be declared a nature reserve to fulfill her parents' dream and, like, continue that. And like I said, she wrote the book that I got all these notes from. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I just wanted to, like, throw that story out there.
That's really,
like,
I don't want to say cool.
I know.
Not
like,
cool.
I keep wanting to say that's so cool, but
It's wild.
So crazy.
Crazy. Local.
Because, like, not only are you just surviving a plane crash, but you're then surviving 11 days. Like, the plane crash part was easy for her. And then...
Yeah, it was just like, you're alone, you're passed out, and you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to go through all that. Yeah, that's unimaginable.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Badass chick for Women's History Month.
Yeah. Is she still alive? I would assume so, yeah.
Yep.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Well, here's to you, Juliane.
Juliane. She has a documentary out there, too. So that, forgot to mention that one film, that director that was supposed to be on the plane that day but couldn't get the tickets, he came back and did, like, a documentary with her. Like, he took her back to the crash site, and they, like, looked through
Is that what the
stuff.
pictures are from?
Mm-hmm. So that's out there, and her book's out there. There's been, like, movies, but I don't think they're very good, and they don't really portray what she really went through.
Yeah.
But, yeah, she's just living her life now, and it's amazing.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I might read the book now.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. It goes into a lot more detail, because I had to cut out so much stuff. But it's pretty cool. And you can get it, I think, like, on Kindle for, like, $10 maybe.
No.
So.
Word.
Yeah.
Good job, dude.
Thanks. So I
was gonna say, yeah.
I guess that's it. So thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to follow our social media pages. We have our Facebook at Unprofessionals Asking Questions. Our Instagram is UAQ Pod. You can see our posts there. We also have our website, uaqpod.com, that you can check out. You can listen to the episodes. You can submit any recommendations you have. You can also get to our Patreon through there, patreon.com/UAQ. We have different tiers to choose from. And don't forget to check out the videos on YouTube.
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah. So, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
That's